I want to congratulate you and we the world on the 20th anniversary of 11 days of global unity. Together, you, me, and we can create a better world and have fun doing it.
Thank you, Dr. Jane Godet, for helping We the World and all our partners to celebrate over 20 years of 11 days of global unity. And thank you for joining us. Welcome to the 11 Days of Global Unity Summit. My name is Birgit Ben-Eli, and I'm the Director of Strategic Engagement and International Outreach for We the World. Today, I'm excited that we will be joined by Audrey, Kitagawa, and Anna Ikeda, who will be talking about peace, the 11th and final theme of the 11 Days of Global Unity on September 21st, the UN International Day of Peace. For the full 11-day summit schedule, you can register for free by going to 11daysofglobalunity.org, 11 with the numeral and 11daysofglobalunity.org. There you can see all the 11 Days Summit broadcasts. And at we.net, you can take action with the 11 campaigns for change, subscribe to Trans Magazine, and you can make a contribution to support all this work by going to we.net/donate. Thank you so much. Before we bring on our extraordinary speakers, I want to acknowledge some of our amazing partners who we support and collaborate with during 11 days of global unity and all year round. The UN International Day of Peace NGO Committee, Peace Day Philly, the International Academy for Multicultural Cooperation, the Unite for Peace Coalition, which includes Unity Earth, I Network, One World, Hubcast Media, Awakening World, We the World, Climate Week, also the Deep and Rapid Transformation Convergence, Pause the World in Times Square, and Pace Bene Nonviolence campaign. What an amazing movement representing literally millions of people working to achieve global unity, and all working with We the World and the We campaign at we.net. Now let's bring in our host, Rick Ulfik. Rick Ulfik is the founder of We the World at we.net and the co-creator of 11 Days of Global Unity. Welcome to the broadcast, Rick Ulfik.
Thank you, Birgit, and thank you all for so much for joining us. Today, our 11 days theme is peace. On September 21st, the UN International Day of Peace. On one hand, we have millions of people, their organizations, and their movements that are devoting their lives to the well-being of people and the planet in a variety of ways that reflect what we call we consciousness that serves the common good. Collectively, we can think of this as a global movement that is helping to make a shift towards connection and unity and a culture of peace and nonviolence. On the other hand, we have powerful special interests also with their people, organizations, and movements that are expanding a culture of us versus them and intolerance to gain political power. They are carrying out militarism, fascism, authoritarianism, which is draining our collective resources, the unity, and even the human spirit that we need to address our greatest global challenges: climate disruption, poverty and inequality, war, and even here in the USA, the erosion of civil rights, law, democracy, and freedom, which affects the whole world. Do you have any reflections on these two tendencies that I mentioned? Let's hear from our first guest, who will present the framework of the program today, the work of creating a culture of peace.
It is my pleasure now to introduce Audrey Kitagawa. Audrey Kitagawa, JD, is president and founder of the International Academy of Multicultural Cooperation, president of the Light of Awareness, International Spiritual Family, and chair of the Anti-Racism Initiative and the Gender Equality Working Group of the G20 Interfaith Forum.
And she is a longtime ally, partner, and friend, as well as a frequent participant and supporter of We the World and 11 Days of Global Unity. Welcome to the broadcast, Audrey Kitagawa.
Thank you, Rick and Birgit. I would like to express my deepest appreciation to you, Birgit, and We the World for hosting the celebration of the 2025 International Day of Peace, a day of global commitment to peace under the umbrella of your 11 Days of Global Unity. And the International Day of Peace was established in 1981 by a unanimous vote of the United Nations General Assembly. Originally, Peace Day coincided with the opening session of the General Assembly, but since 2001, it has been celebrated on September 21st. The United Nations works year-round, but world leaders formally gather at the opening session to share their concerns, discuss pressing issues, and set global priorities. Celebrating peace on its own special day in conjunction with the gathering of global leaders reinforces the message that peace should be at the forefront in the hearts and minds of the representatives of the member states and the citizens of the countries which they represent. The 2025 theme of the International Day of Peace is Act Now for a Peaceful World, an urgent call to action that acknowledges the current global turbulence and uncertainty and the necessity for everyone to take actions for peace. Peace is not just the responsibility of diplomats and world leaders, it is everyone's responsibility. Global civil society plays a crucial role in creating and sustaining a culture of peace through promoting social justice and peace values. NGOs, community networks, religions, and interfaith organizations and coalitions of like-minded citizens can have a tremendous impact on peace-building efforts. In discussing some of these initiatives, we are very pleased to have Anna Ikeda join us today. Anna is a representative to the UN of Soka Gakkai International and program coordinator for disarmament at the SGI Office for UN Affairs, where her work focuses on nuclear weapons abolition and stopping killer robots. Anna has explored the role of peace and disarmament education in promoting disarmament, as well as the contributions of youth and faith communities. She has supported many joint interfaith statements on nuclear weapons delivered at UN Disarmament Fora. She is an executive committee member of the Voices for a World Free of Nuclear Weapons, a cooperation circle of the United Religions Initiative, and serves on the board of directors of the Metta Center for Nonviolence. Voices launched on August 6 its Nuclear Prayer Day and involve many organizations around the world to post and participate in promoting prayers for peace for the abolition of nuclear weapons. Anna, you now have the floor.
Well, thank you so much, Audrey, and thank you to Rick and Birgit as well. Greetings, friends and colleagues. It's a profound honor to be with you today on the International Day of Peace. I can just picture that around the world, people of all backgrounds are gathering in prayer, dialogue, and action, united by our shared vision and desire for a more peaceful and just future. And I feel an incredible honor to speak on the theme of peace, especially this year, which marks the 80th commemoration of the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It has been estimated that by the end of 1945, the atomic bombs killed more than 140,000 people in Hiroshima and 70,000 in Nagasaki. Yes, those are shocking numbers. But more importantly, I think that each person had a name, like Harumi Ato, Kazue Nozaki, Takuro Oshita, Makie Imai, and Hiroshi Yamane. Each of them had family and loved ones and aspirations for the future. Each person deserved to live. So let us honor and remember them today. This year's 11 Days of Global Unity has given us a powerful theme, urgency for action. It's a timely reminder. We live in a moment when, 80 years later, nuclear dangers are not receding, but growing. Nuclear arsenals are being modernized. Nuclear rhetoric is escalating. And the risk of use, either by accident, miscalculation, or intent, hangs over all of us. So everything we see and hear in the news everywhere tells us that we need to act. And yet, I think if urgency is only about fear, it cannot sustain us. Fear alone can paralyze. It can make us feel that the challenge is too vast, the system's too complex. So to act in a sustainable manner with urgency, we need hope, we need perseverance, and we need wisdom. And that is why I believe faith communities have such a vital role to play. So Audrey just mentioned the Nuclear Prayer Day, and this year I had the privilege of serving as the co-chair of the Nuclear Prayer Day initiative of the Voices for a World Free of Nuclear Weapons, which is part of the United Religions Initiative. And each year on August 6th, Nuclear Prayer Day brings together people of diverse faith and convictions, offering prayers, meditations, and commitments for a world free from the shadow of nuclear weapons. And as co-chair of the Nuclear Prayer Day, I witnessed once again the extraordinary diversity of faith voices coming together. We had vigils, commemorations at churches and other places of worship, meditations, panel discussions, and Zoom events. People gathered in Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. to pray together. People gathered in Hawaii to discuss the issue and to ring the Nagasaki peace bell. We received the statement of endorsement from His All Holiness Ecumenical Patriarch Bartholomew. And our partners meditated together at the United Nations. So there were many expressions and forms of observing Nuclear Prayer Day, but the essence of our prayers converges that no human being, no child, no community should ever again suffer the catastrophic harm of nuclear weapons. I'm reminded of the Hibakusha, the survivors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, who also continue to raise their voices with the simple but profound message that no one else should suffer as they did. In last year's Nobel lecture, Mr. Terumi Tanaka, one of the co-chairs of Nihon Hidankyo, relayed his personal testimony, and he stated, and I quote, "The deaths I witnessed at the time could hardly be described as human deaths. There were hundreds of people suffering in agony, unable to receive any kind of medical attention. I strongly felt that even in war, such killing and maiming must never be allowed to happen." Unquote. The Hibakusha's words are not policy arguments, they are moral imperatives. And faith communities carry those imperatives into every space, be it parliaments, classrooms, interfaith gatherings, and hearts of ordinary people like you and me. And I must stress, prayer is not a substitute to action. But prayer, whether expressed through spoken words, silent meditation, chanting in my case, or song or even deep listening, grounds us in the inner resources we need to act. Prayer reminds us of the sanctity of every life. It draws forth courage when despair tells us that change is impossible. Prayer allows us to imagine a different reality and to anchor our actions in that vision. It guides us. So today, on this International Day of Peace, let us remind ourselves why we choose to work for peace. Who helped us find that passion? What keeps us going? The paradox of nuclear weapons is that the countries that maintain them claim that those weapons of mass destruction and mass killing are necessary for international security and peace. But whose security is being protected and what cost? What do we mean by peace? The UN Secretary General Guterres has rightly warned that nuclear weapons, quote, offer no security, just carnage and chaos, unquote. So long as nuclear weapons exist, they will be used one day. The result would not only be the destruction from the blast and widespread long-term harm caused by radiation, but also what scientists call nuclear winter and nuclear famine, the collapse of global food production that would result from the climatic changes provoked by nuclear detonations. So really, no one on Earth would be unaffected by even a limited nuclear exchange. In other words, we know that nuclear weapons do not bring peace. If they did, why would we continue to live in a world today with full of conflicts, while over 12,000 nuclear arsenals are supposedly protecting us? So indeed, I believe this is a time for action, and we need to shift from the culture of violence to a culture of peace and nonviolence. And as Audrey mentioned, it is up to each of us. It's our responsibility. Ms. Park Soon-kwak, who was 16 years old when the atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, stated, quote, I used to think peace activities could only be conducted by special, extraordinary people. I used to think that ordinary people could not get involved. But I realized, as long as you have a purpose, you can do something, unquote. All of us can, like she said, do something. We can take action, just like all of our partners did for Nuclear Prayer Day. That is the hope of Hibakusha. It is their call to action. And to persevere in this long struggle, we must, once again, cultivate hope. And hope is not a naive optimism. It is a discipline, a courageous choice we renew every day. So to conclude, I'd like to share two quotes from my Buddhist mentor, late Soka Gakkai International President Daisaku Ikeda, on this theme of peace that have inspired me. The first one says, quote, each of us, no matter how weak or ineffectual we may feel ourselves to be, must build deep within our hearts a stronghold for peace, one that will be capable of withstanding and in the end, silencing the incessant calls to war. This is the only way humanity's tragic predilection for violence can be reformed and its energies channeled into new directions, unquote. And the second one says, peace is not simply a matter of living a quiet, detached, or carefree life. Peace exists in action, courageously, non-violently, fighting against the injustice that makes people suffer. It is only in such action that we find peace. So with that, I thank you once again for letting me be part of the program, and I'm looking forward to listening to everybody else on the rest. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anna, for all of the important work you, Soka Gakkai International, and the Voices for a Nuclear Weapons-Free World are doing to promote peace, especially on this 80th commemorative event of the dropping of the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I appreciate hearing your insightful comments, and I would like to take this opportunity to add to Anna's comments by sharing about the commemorative events which she briefly mentioned, which are held in Hawaii on this 80th anniversary. It was a call to raise awareness about the need for peace, and putting an end to the greatest existential threat to life as we know it, when the nuclear bombs were dropped without warning on innocent civilians in these two Japanese cities. In those 80 years that have transpired since, weaponry technologies have become more sophisticated, lethal, and of greater reach into foreign countries. Hundreds of attendees, including government and community leaders and citizens from all walks of life, gathered to participate in 3 distinct, unique events taking place over 3 days in Honolulu under the umbrella of our honoring these 80 years that have passed since the nuclear bombs were deployed. This showed the level of interest and caring which people of Hawaii and other states have in recognizing the need for peace. We had a full house at the Hawaii State Capitol Senate Auditorium, the city's Mission Auditorium, and at the Jodo Mission of Hawaii, a Buddhist temple that has a long history with helping the Japanese in Hawaii who were displaced as a result of World War II. Everyone came to honor the victims of the 1945 bombings and to make a stand for peace. It is not surprising that the people of Hawaii especially would show up in such a big way, not only for these events in Hawaii, but for all of the many events that were held around the world. People do care about human security and well-being of our environment, our friends, family, and communities. Family and community express our social values, and in Hawaii, words like aloha, which means love, and ohana, which means family, represent the values that we cherish. There is a very vibrant, diverse, multicultural, multiracial, and multi-ethnic people who live on the 7 inhabited islands that make up the Hawaiian archipelago in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. The word Pacific in Hawaiian means peace. But Hawaii also has a deep memory of war and injustice that has shaped its citizens into concerned activists. Hawaii bears the scars of the attack of Pearl Harbor, which propelled the U.S. into World War II. Many people witnessed their Japanese friends, neighbors, and family unjustly incarcerated in internment camps. At the same time, it sent its own citizens into battle for the United States, including young Japanese Americans who comprise the majority of the 442nd Regiment and 100th Infantry Battalion, recognized as the most decorated units in U.S. military history. These young Japanese American citizens wanted to support the United States as U.S. citizens and demonstrate their loyalty to the U.S., notwithstanding the fact that their own families were incarcerated in these internment camps. More recently, the people of Hawaii experienced what it felt like to face the very real possibilities of nuclear war. On January 13, 2018, during a period of escalation of ballistic missile testing and nuclear arms development by North Korea, the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency, which is a part of the Hawaii Department of Defense, mistakenly sent out a missile attack warning that resulted in panic and confusion. Residents received a blaring, ominous alert on their phones that said, "Ballistic missile threat inbound to Hawaii. Seek immediate shelter. This is not a drill." It took nearly 40 minutes before the warning was retracted. And during that time, most people did not know what to do, or even if there was anything they could do. And it showed the frailty of our technologies and human error, which can fail to provide accurate information that can cause mass chaos and panic and potentially trigger a nuclear weapons response. Pearl Harbor was a target in World War II because Japan sought to immobilize the U.S. fleet at Pearl Harbor to prevent it from disrupting Japan's planned military advances into Southeast Asia and the Pacific. Today, Hawaii has every military department represented on its land, air, and sea, from the Marines, the Navy, the Air Force, the Coast Guard, and U.S. Space Command. It has some of the largest and most influential military commands in the Pacific, which encompasses the Asia-Pacific region. In this climate of growing tensions, the people of Hawaii and the world have reason to be concerned and must educate ourselves, families, and communities to become advocates for peace. So much human suffering results from the violence of wars and conflicts affecting millions of people worldwide. Injuries, death, displacement, hunger, and untold mental, physical, and emotional trauma and death. War destroys important infrastructures that serve as our hospitals, airports, shipping ports, schools, homes, and cultural heritage in museums and venues of music, songs, dance, and gathering places. As Anna had mentioned about Nihon Hidankyo, a Japanese organization comprised of atomic bomb survivors, or Hibakusha from Hiroshima, Nagasaki. And while it was formed in 1956 to advocate for the abolition of nuclear weapons and to support the survivors' rights and well-being, they have tirelessly shared their stories of the suffering they endured as a result of the atomic bombings. And they want people to always remember the face of suffering which wars create has a human face. And as Anna mentioned, real people who have endured severe radiation poisoning that degraded their quality of life. Last year, Nihon Hidankyo was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in recognition of their efforts and their lifelong advocacy. And many of these Hibakusha, 100,000 of them still alive in Japan, with an average age of over 85 years, really speaks to the fact of our having to have deep gratitude for their tireless efforts and for being models of what a concerned citizenry can accomplish. Through their efforts, as well as the efforts of the international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons and other activists, the historic Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons entered into force on January 22nd, 2021. And for the first time in history, nuclear weapons became illegal in international law. This landmark treaty prohibits countries from producing, testing, acquiring, possessing, or stockpiling nuclear weapons and includes provisions for victim assistance and environmental remediation. Activism and advocacy are powerful tools for peace. These powerful tools are in our hands to utilize. But what is peace? We must understand what peace truly is. And peace is a moral and ethical imperative that affirms the inherent dignity and worth of every human being. Peace is not merely the absence of conflict, but a commitment to creating conditions where everyone can flourish. Peace is born of trust and cooperation, which are the foundation of fair and peaceful societies. And peace is an imperative that extends beyond personal goals and interpersonal or community relationships to the recognition of our role in taking responsibility as global citizens to create a peaceful world. The pursuit of peace is not idealistic, but deeply ethical. It is about choosing the path that preserves life, heals wounds, and offers future generations a chance to inherit a world of harmony and justice. Starting our August 8th events at the Hawaii State Capitol was significant because it showed a participatory model for ordinary people to interact with government on issues of great importance, who by their very presence show their support for peace. Peace does not lie solely in the hands of our politicians, and the issues we face are deeply personal to every citizen on earth. Security, well-being, and peace are the birthrights of every human being, and they must be deeply ingrained as fundamental core values in every person. And at this time, I would like to call back Rick and Birgit to join Anna and me for about 12 minutes of discussion with each other. Rick, Birgit.
Thank you
Yes,
so much.
and thank you so much, Audrey and Anna, for your remarks. So yes, let's have a roundtable discussion. If anybody wants to react to anything that's been said, and especially, can we have a call to action? I'd love to hear some kind of call to action from each person, and I'll give mine at the end. So, Audrey, did you want to say anything, or if anyone wanted to react to anything that anybody has said?
Well, thank you so much, Rick. I think both Anna and I have brought out specific instances where civil society and ordinary people participated around the world around Nuclear Prayer Day and the importance that any person can do. Like in Anna's case, she mentioned in her case chanting. And so peace within and peace without are not remote things. These are responsibilities that can take place here now in our daily lives as ordinary people, because it is really in the magnificence of the seeming ordinariness of life where the beauty exists of the sacredness of life. And peace building is more than just a political process to be worked out between world leaders. It is a collaborative process involving all facets of society, governments, civil organizations, religions, and individuals, and one that requires a commitment founded on foundational moral and ethical principles. And informed discussions like the one we're having today help grow awareness, compassion, conviction, and strategies to contribute to the social peace of our communities. And this conversation we're having today is action. And each individual does have an important role in undertaking personal responsibility to work towards our own inner and outer peace. And Anna mentioned the all-important prayers for peace. Prayer changes things when ye pray, believe. And now each of us is responsible for ensuring that our thoughts, speech, and actions align with our values, morals, and ethics. And from a place of love and understanding, we create peace in our own hearts, homes, and neighborhoods and communities. And on this International Day of Peace, let us recommit ourselves to spread peace with our mindfulness, compassion, and acts of kindness. May we all become peaceful individuals who together build a peaceful world. If not us, then who? Thank you.
Thank you, Audrey. Anna, would you like to
Sure.
respond?
Yes, and thank you so much once again for this opportunity to bring us together. I really feel such a privilege to have this conversation, to have the time to really dialogue and to learn from each other, and really, reflecting on my responsibility to continue working to really alleviate all the suffering in the world as people continue to, suffer not only from the effects of atomic bombs and nuclear weapons, but the ongoing conflicts as well. And I really want to thank you, Audrey, for highlighting the examples of actions, as well as groups like ICAN and Nihon Hidankyo, where people can engage, the power of the ordinary people. And thank you for creating that space for communities together through your events in Hawaii to take a stand for peace. I think it really shows that people do care. People do have the deep desire to do something for peace, and we must continue providing such opportunities. So if I were to, kind of summarize my call to action, as I mentioned, this journey, if you will, or this work for peace does require long-term commitment. So I think while we do the work, it will benefit each of us and the overall movement if we took the time, from time to time to really self-reflect and take the time to really remind ourselves why we are part of this movement, what gives us hope, and take the time to pray or engage in any practice that grounds you, ideally every day. So in my Buddhist practice, we say that actually everything starts with prayer. And, it's not a cliche or it's not a lip service. I truly believe that, just like Audrey mentioned, everything does start with prayer. Or, we can say, if you don't pray, it can be your inner determination or resolve or your intention. But having that, I think, at our core makes us stronger. Then, I would say that your prayer, your vision guide you in finding the right actions that you can take. And, I think it doesn't matter how small or big it may seem, I think doing something for that vision gives us hope. It empowers us. And lastly, I think my call to action is let us create joy. Even though, we are doing something that can feel heavy, I think we still have to enjoy that journey. If we want to usher in a world where every person is treated with dignity and respect, then we need to live that today. We need to treat ourselves with dignity as well. And we need to be the people who carry the light wherever we go. So that would be my insights. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you, Anna. And I was going to mention that I was so happy to hear that you have actually been a campaigner for ICAN, which was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. So it's really wonderful how you have been taking action in your life to get to that point. So thank you. And yes, and Birgit, what's your call to action?
I think we all resonate with what Audrey and Anna said here, and it's very hard to they so eloquently described what's needed and outlined the possibilities. And I agree. Peace is a moral obligation, it's an imperative, it's in and outward. And I agree also, Anna said it should also be joy, there should always be hope. And as both of you mentioned, peace is a responsibility for everyone. It begins with us. It is not something passive. And I think it's like a daily practice, even in the absence of war. It's about a practice of truth and compassion, courage in our life and in our communities. It begins probably at home and goes far beyond. And when we all embody this peace and action, then that's the medicine in our world so urgently needs currently. So peace, thank you so much for being part of this beautiful panel, and thank you for being our guest.
Yes, thank you, Birgit. Well, as I've been saying, and I think all of us have been saying, we are promoting the hashtag urgency for action, and that's urgency, the number 4, and then the word action, hashtag urgency for action that we're using all during the 11 days and beyond. So my call to action is very simple: to just watch and maybe share the 11 days broadcasts on any of the 11 themes that you are drawn to. And the 11 themes during the 11 days are unity, interdependence, environment, economic justice, health, children and youth, women, human rights, freedom, disarmament, and peace. So you can go to 11daysofglobalunity.org, and there you can see the schedule and see the broadcasts. That's 11, the numeral. So it's 11daysofglobalunity.org. So as we come to the end, well, this has been a truly amazing and inspiring conversation. Thank you, Audrey Kitagawa and Anna Ikeda and Birgit Ben-Eli so much. And I thank all of you watching this for being part of 11 Days of Global Unity. To get involved, please go to we.net. It's all about we, right? This is a W, right? So let's go from a me society, right, to a we society. And that's why we launched we.net. So together we can create a world that works for all. Thank you so much.